Welcome everyone, and thank you for registering for our 7th annual ArchiveSpace Member Forum. I'm Jessica Crouch, the Community Engagement Coordinator for ArchiveSpace. We have a very full schedule and I don't want to take up too much time, but before we dive into the forum, I want to very briefly take care of a few housekeeping items and thank some very important people. I'm going to drop a link to the forums wiki in the chat. I just did that. This includes the agenda, some attendee tips, and a post-forum evaluation that I hope you all complete. You may leave and come back during the sessions as you wish. Your connection information will remain the same throughout today. But if you plan to attend any of the discussion groups, mixers, or learning opportunities in the coming days, you will need to have registered for these events separately. If you're attending any of these events, you will have received separate connection information directly from Zoom for those events, and you can still register for these activities through that event wiki link if you're interested and haven't done so yet. We are recording today's sessions. Recordings will be linked in the event wiki pages in the days after the forum. We are using Zoom webinar for today's activities, so you'll notice your microphone and camera are both muted. If you'd like to ask questions of a presenter, we ask that you use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will hold all questions for each presenter until the end of their presentation. At that time, I'll read your question out loud to the presenter for them to address. Some questions may be answered directly in the Q&A panel in an effort to keep the forum on schedule, so keep an eye on that Q&A panel for additional information and resources. If you have a general question, need some other form of assistance, or just want to chat with your fellow attendees, please feel free to reach out using the chat option at the bottom of your screen instead of the Q&A. You also have the ability to turn on closed captioning at the bottom of your screen. You can elect to show or hide subtitles by selecting live transcript at the bottom of your screen and pressing the little up arrow there. You can also elect to view the full transcript either in tandem with subtitles or in lieu of subtitles by selecting that option as well. If you need help during the forum, please use the chat box or email archivespacehome@lyrasis.org. Keep in mind, due to the large number of attendees and the fact we're currently participating in the forum, we may not be able to resolve all issues or get to your email, but we'll do our best. I'd like to thank all of the presenters, discussion leaders, and trainers you will be hearing from over the next few days. Each presenter will be introduced in their session, but I wanted to acknowledge them here as well. We couldn't have forums like this without engaged users willing to share their knowledge and experiences with the rest of the community, so a sincere thank you to everyone on this list. And thank you all for being here. I'm looking forward to a great few days of presentations, discussions, and learning. Please feel free to chime in during Q&As, connect with one another in the chat, or just enjoy spending time learning from others working in ArchiveSpace. Traditionally, our member forum is an in-person event held in conjunction with SAA, but for the past 2 years, we've had to adapt and hold this meeting virtually. I know that we all have Zoom fatigue, and there are a lot of uncertainties and stresses outside of ArchiveSpace land right now. So a big thank you to all of you for your willingness to attend another virtual thing. I'm looking forward to a really fun and rewarding 3 days, so I hope you are too. I also want to go ahead and mention that after we wrap things up with the forum today, we'll be hosting a Zoom happy hour beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. The virtual happy hour is being held in a separate Zoom room, and if you're registered, we look forward to seeing you. If you haven't registered and you'd like to join us, you can still do that by following the registration link on the wiki, and I'll get connection information emailed to you before the happy hour begins. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now so that our first set of presenters can get situated and begin sharing their screen while I read their description and bios. The first session of the day is a plug-in show and tell of the New School's bulk updater. Your presenters today are Anna Robinson-Sweet and Wendy Scheir of the New School and James Bullen of Hudson Molonglo. Developed by HM for the New School Archives, the New School Bulk Updater is an easy-to-use plugin that can be added to the ArchiveSpace staff user interface. The updater allows staff to download archival objects into a spreadsheet where select fields may be added, revised, or deleted, and then re-imported back into the existing resource without losing or altering unedited data in the resource. This easy round-tripping process can significantly reduce the labor of time-consuming data entry. Documentation about the plugin is available on the forum wiki. Anna and Wendy will discuss the New School's motivation for developing the plugin, which I think we can all guess, the development process and how they've been using it, and James will be on hand to address technical questions since Hudson Molonglo developed the plugin. Anna Robinson-Sweet is an archivist and PhD student in the Information Studies program at the University of California, Los Angeles. Her research focuses on how archives and records can be repurposed by activists for reparations and redress of past injustices. From 2018 to 2021, she worked at the New School Archives and Special Collections in New York City. Robinson Sweet holds a MLIS from Simmons University and a BA from Yale. Wendy Scheir is founding director of the New School Archives and Special Collections in New York City, where she has been working since 2008 to develop a sustainable, flexible infrastructure for the collections, to expand and deepen the collecting scope, to integrate with the university's academic mission, and to extend access. Earlier, Wendy was project archivist on the 1939 New York World's Fair records at the New York Public Library, winner of the Frederick M. Miller Finding Aid Award. Wendy holds a BA in English Literature, an MFA in Film, and an MA in History and Archives from New York University. James Bullen spent many years working as a developer and technical manager at libraries and archives in Australia and the United States. In 2011, he established Hudson Molonglo. In 2012, HM was selected to develop the first version of ArchiveSpace. Since then, Hudson Molonglo has made substantial contributions to the ongoing development of ArchiveSpace and has worked with many clients around the world to customize and extend ArchiveSpace for their local needs. Welcome, Anna, Wendy, and James, if you'd like to start us off.
Hi, I will start us off. Sorry. Hi, I'm Wendy Scheir. I'm as Jessica just said, I'm the director of the New School Archives and Special Collections. And I'm just going to give you a really quick background about the archives and hopefully jump in really soon to the plugin, which is what we're all here to hear about. So the New School was founded in 1919, and it consists of 5 colleges now, which include Parsons School of Design, Eugene Land College, New School for Social Research, the College of Performing Arts, and the Schools of Public Engagement. The archives was founded in 2012. And now includes 4 professional archivists and 2 to 4 student assistants. And we have approximately 400 collections. And we're by ArchiveSpace, we're considered a mid-size. I was going to say facility. What's the right word? A mid-size institution. That's the word I'm looking for. And that's just to give you a sort of a sense of where we sit capability-wise. The plugin. So in 2020, we began, or 2019, sorry, we started preparing for migrating from Archivist Toolkit, which we've been in for many years, to ArchiveSpace. And we realized that we needed some help, some outside help to do this, and we're fortunate enough to find and engage Hudson Molonglo. We launched after a lot of preparation in August 2020 and a lot of iterations. And immediately we realized that there were partially because we had been solidifying and making a lot of changes in terms of our cataloging, but also largely because of the differences between ArchiveSpace and Archivist Toolkit, we realized that we had to do a lot of remediation, which Anna will tell you a little more about, and realized how labor intensive that was going to be. We worked with Hudson Molonglo to do a couple of customizations in the process of doing the migration, one of which was the wonderful accessions to resource component linking, which I recommend that you all take a look at if you haven't, the plugin. It's a really wonderful and now invaluable tool that we use. So that was spring, or that was in the end of August 2020 that we did that. And in spring, we engaged Hudson Molonglo again to do some enhancements. And that's when we began working on this plugin. And the inspiration for it really came from NYU's digital object import, the work order form, because it pointed us towards what might be possible in terms of being able to do remediation in a spreadsheet and import it into an existing finding aid, because we realized that the excuse me, the rapid data entry form was wonderful for new records, but that we had a lot of work to do in existing records. We are thrilled by it and hope you will be too, and feel that it was a modest investment and a huge payoff. So I'm going to pass it to Anna now to talk about the plugin.
Thanks, Wendy. So I'm Anna. I'm gonna I did a screen recording just to show how the plugin works, and I'll kind of explain what we're seeing as we go through it. So let me just get this queued up here. Okay, so the first, here's just a dummy resource record that I created to show you how this works. And the first step is to download the spreadsheet with your existing data that you'll then edit and re-upload into ArchiveSpace. So you do that in this toolbar here, select bulk update spreadsheet. And this is very similar to how the work order spreadsheet looks, if any of you have used that. So you can select any or all of the components in your resource record, or select certain series to download into your spreadsheet. In this case, I'm just going to download all of them. Go ahead and download that, save the file, and then cancel to just get out of this view and back into your resource record. And it's really important we discovered this quickly, to suppress that resource record while you're editing the data, because if another user goes in and makes changes to that resource record before you've uploaded your edited data, it won't upload. There will be an error. So it's really important step to suppress the record. And then I'll show the file just to see. I already made some edits to this just for the sake of time, but this will give you a sense of the fields that are available for editing. Not all fields are included. So these were kind of based on our needs, what we ended up seeing that we needed to have this capability for. So titles, dates, instances, conditions governing access, and scope and content were the fields that we included. And there's a couple of those for each. So once you've done your edits and you're ready to upload your edited data, you just, of course, unsuppress the record. And this will run as a background job. So you go into that background job menu, and there's a separate type of background job for this editor. Upload your file and start the job. And this will look really similar to anyone who's done a background job. It will queue and then prompt you to refresh the page, and you'll see a log. In this case, the edits were successfully made. If there were any errors here, they would show up in the log and be pretty self-explanatory. So it's really easy to kind of identify errors in your data if those exist, and to go in and fix them. And then you've made your edits. And so you can go back into the record. And in this case, I changed instances, I added some dates, and, just confirm that those edits look as they should. In this case, they did. So that's pretty much it. That's the process. So hopefully that will show how easy and simple this is to use. It's very, very straightforward, and makes the editing of components really much more simple than clicking into each one and doing those edits separately. So I'll talk about how we've been using this plugin a little bit. As Wendy mentioned, one of the motivations for developing the plugin was to fix some issues with our data that we noticed after migrating from Archivist Toolkit to ArchiveSpace. So one of those errors was with our titles that had quotation marks in them, the dates did not correctly parse into the date field. So there were a lot of these, they were scattered across different resource records. And rather than having to go into each one and identify them and change that in the staff user interface, the spreadsheet made it really easy to identify those components that needed fixing and just copy and paste into the date field. So that was really handy. And there's been a lot of different kind of examples of that, either an error caused by migration, or we just have changed how we enter the data and need to kind of make a lot of bulk edits. Another use we've been finding for it, and I think will continue to be really useful, is for updating instances. We often will inventory a collection in archive space, and then before any arrangement has been done, and once that arrangement is complete, we'll need to update pretty much all the instances in a resource record. And again, it's so much simpler to just go into the spreadsheet and change those box and folder numbers than to go into each component and do that one by one. So it's been really useful. And then we also recently changed our restriction periods. And so this was, the plugin was really useful for, again, identifying the components that needed to be updated and then changing the restriction periods and the conditions governing access note on the component level. So we've been kind of discovering new uses as we've gone along. Wendy discovered a handy use of it for adding up component level extents. So it's not what we developed it for. It's not making an edit exactly, but having the data in spreadsheet form has allowed us to kind of take a lot of shortcuts that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to. And then, there are also some limitations that maybe, James can provide some more clarity on, because this was developed really for our specific needs. So, as you'll see, there's not, every field is not included in the spreadsheet. So we've already heard from some people who are looking to make edits to fields that are not currently included. So I think that's it for me. And we can open it up to questions. And if James wants to jump in also, feel free.
All right. Thank you so much. This is really cool, and people are very excited about it. So there are already quite a few questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'll read the questions, and then you can decide among the three of you who gets to answer what. The question has been asked, this may get answered, but asking now, is there a long-term plan for keeping this plugin up to date with new versions of Archive Space?
Not on our part. We don't have any plans, but we certainly would hope that it will be not too difficult to update.
Yeah, and from our perspective, we work on a project basis. So, generally, if somebody needs something to be updated or enhanced, then we're very happy to do that. And generally, if things get broken by updates, news usually reaches us fairly fast. And if it's easy to fix, we'll fix it.
Thanks. How does suppressing the record prevent other users from editing? Doesn't it suppress it from the public view, not to other staff?
I can answer that. So it does suppress it from the public view, and depending on your permissions, the user permissions in archive space, another staff member could, if they had the privileges, they could unsuppress it and make those edits in the staff user interface. But for us, it's enough of an alert to each other that someone is working on the record if it's suppressed, and they shouldn't just go ahead and unsuppress it if they see that it's suppressed. So it's kind of, it depends, I guess, on your permissions and how you're kind of set up to work with your colleagues. But it does prevent edits being made in the staff side when it's suppressed.
Thanks. Can you speak about any possible configurations for the plugin?
perhaps I can take that one. So it's currently not particularly configurable because we did develop it for new schools particular requirements, and you saw some of those during Anna's demonstration. There's a lot of stuff that could be done to make this more configurable and more useful in a wider context. But you know, we obviously would need someone to have the interest to invest in that.
Thanks. Can this be used for any record type, like a digital object record?
I'll take that one too. Yeah, no, it's it's just for archival objects. So it's for editing resource components. It does, as you saw, reuse some of the functionality from the digitalization work order plugin, but it is strictly for updating the archival objects.
Thanks. Just a comment, would love for the general note to be added as one of the editable note fields. All right. Are imports restricted to Excel spreadsheets, or will it support tab delimited or CSV files? What about Google and other vendor spreadsheets?
Currently XLSX only. And we actually, so one of the technical challenges with this was needing to parse in a finite amount of memory a potentially very large spreadsheet, because as you're all aware, some resources can have many thousands of archival objects. And so we hunted around for a good XLSX parser that could handle very large files, and didn't find one, so we wrote one.
Thanks. Wendy, I see that you are typing an answer to, oh, okay, so Wendy has answered some questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're totally fine. There are a lot of questions to get through, so this is great. Wendy has been going through and answering some of the questions in text, so make sure you are looking at that answered panel in the Q&A. Wendy's doing a great job staying on top of things. If there are fields that are not included and you edit fields around those fields, will the new record overwrite the fields that were there, or simply make the edit and leave all the original info in place?
That's the wonderful thing about it. It leaves anything in place that you don't touch. So you can, that was really the initial motivation for it, was that we'd be able to edit particular fields and not disturb the other data that we wanted to leave there.
Yeah, that is true, but I just want to, there are one or two little gotchas here. So one is that, and there are one or two little configurable options. One is that if you blank out all of the fields associated with a particular subrecord, then that subrecord will be deleted. If configured thus, you can say that it should not delete subrecords when their fields are cleared. And so, but not all of the fields of the subrecords are shown in the spreadsheet. So there is a corner case where you could lose data where you choose to allow deleting subrecords by clearing the fields. You clear the fields in a subrecord that has data in one of the non-represented fields, and you would lose that subrecord and that piece of data. But it's a, yeah, as I say, it's a pretty small corner case.
Thanks. All right, we have 3 more minutes and 5 open questions. There are some answered questions in the Q&A, so be sure to check those out. But we're going to try to get through as quickly as possible these 5 questions, and then we'll have to move on. If there are fields that are not in, oh, wait, I just read that. Done. All right, perfect. Is this under consideration to be added to the core code?
So this is Christine Devella, the program manager for Archive Space. I'm happy to provide an answer to that, but Wendy and James may also have an answer. So archive space development is very much community driven and prioritization is community driven. So we're always interested when there's kind of a groundswell of people using a particular plugin or people who have worked with an outside developer to solve a problem that is common. And that's one of the things that happened with the Harvard plugin to import archival objects in spreadsheets. So we saw that there was an incredible amount of interest in that there was a lot of discussion in the community about that, and someone had already done work to solve that challenge. So certainly on the archive space program side, we're very interested in this one because we know it's a common challenge. So definitely, get a discussion going. If a lot of people are using this, we'd be very interested. We'd either be interested in a direct submission to the core code of archive space or having some talks about how that could happen.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, I would love it if it were incorporated.
Awesome. All right, we have one more minute. We're just going to answer as many questions as we can, and then maybe Anna, Wendy, and James can tackle some of these by typing answers when we hit that half-hour mark. Since Excel messes so badly with dates sometimes, have you encountered some unwanted date issues? Though being so new, maybe you haven't had the same problem with pre-20th century dates.
Anna, I don't think we have, but Anna might know better than me if we've run into any issues with that.
Yeah, I don't think we have. There is like sometimes Excel, will automatically format the data in a way that's a little bit confusing, and you can just, we've just been turning off that auto formatting, but I don't think we've had any issues with like that import of the dates into archive space.
I just want to add, I appreciate the sentiment.
I can answer Milosh's question quickly. This cannot be used to delete an entire component. I think that's what you meant.
Thanks, Wendy. Yeah. All right. We are past time, so we're going to go ahead and move on. But thank you so much, Wendy, Anna, and James. Obviously, people are really excited about this. I see that Anna's already answering some of the questions in the Q&A, but Wendy is really great and active on the listserv too. So I think that this is a conversation that can continue and grow. So thank you so much for presenting.